Alright, what's up guys? My name is Zack, and for the last week I've been driving a 2024 Toyota Corolla Touring. Up front is a 1.8 liter inline 4, and down below is a CVT. Now I am super excited to be making this video here today because I've spent the last week driving this Toyota Corolla Touring here in Japan. I'm actually currently driving it from Tokyo to Osaka, and it's been my trusty steed over the last week. And so I'm excited to share with you a vehicle that we sort of get in the States. We do not get the Touring in the United States. We get a hatchback, but not the longer roof wagon. And so today we're going to be digging into what makes this car so fantastic. But if you'd like to submit your own vehicle and have it reviewed here on the channel, you can head on over to my website, zackpradel.com/submit. It's a quick and easy submission form. It takes under a minute to fill out, and I come out to you. And if you'd like to see all my videos weeks or sometimes months in advance, you can head on over to my Patreon for only $5 a month. But let's get back to that 1.8 liter inline 4 under the hood. Well, that's actually a pretty standard bread and butter engine, not only for the Corolla here in Japan, but the Corolla abroad. In the United States, we get the same engine. Now, you can find these Corolla Tourings in hybrid. However, I have not found that necessary. I have been averaging 17.7 kilometers per liter, which I will do the MPG equivalent up on the screen now for my American viewers back home. It has been incredibly fuel efficient. Now, I will say part of that is that Japan does have lower speed limits, and so I've been driving at like 40, 50, 60 miles an hour as opposed to 60, 70, 80 miles an hour like I would back home, so it does push that efficiency just by default a little bit, but I have been truly, truly impressed. Like I said, paired to it is a CVT. This is a little bit less impressive. It's done the job, and 9 out of 10 times I've been driving it, it's been great. There are a couple weird wonky times when you're merging or on the highway. You put your foot into it, it doesn't really go all that much. The CVT is definitely the hindrance in this drivetrain, but again, for efficiency, for daily driving, for around town stuff, it's not that big of a deal. Last but not least, as I mentioned, the Corolla Touring is front wheel drive. How does it feel to drive the Corolla Touring? Like any other Corolla, it's a very, very subdued driving experience. Visibility's been great, which is wonderful because I'm new to driving here in Japan. I've only driven on the left side of the road for about 5 or 6 days now. So it's been helpful having a lot of good visibility so I don't hit things or bump into things I shouldn't. Ride quality's been fine. Cabin noise, it's a little bit noisy, but again, you drive on average slower here in Japan than you do in the States, so it's a lot less of an issue. With that stuff out of the way, let's talk about the interior. Well, in front of me, I have 4 gauges. Off to the left is my tachometer and coolant temperature. Off to the right is the speedometer and fuel. We get an information screen in the center. This has been swapped over to English. Normally this would be in Japanese, but the rental car place actually switched it over to English for me, and it operates in the same way that it does in the United States. On the steering wheel, on the left, we do have our selectors for that gauge cluster screen, as well as our go back and volume. And off to the right, we have our adaptive cruise control. Very, very nice. And of course, our skip track and mode. Off to the right, we do have our climate control vent, as well as down below we have our automatic high beams and headlight levelers. Pretty much everything here in Japan has headlight levelers, so very interesting to see that. And then moving out of the door, we do have our latch to get in and out, power mirrors, power locks, and power windows. We do have an infotainment display. This is not the original. So mostly every car here in Japan gets an aftermarket radio. The reason they did this for the rental car is so it actually yells at me when I go too fast. It yells at me when there's merging traffic. It tells me to be careful. It yells at me to not drive on the wrong side of the road. So they did it for that, but this is not the standard infotainment, even though this is a 2024 model year vehicle. Down below that, we do have our hazard switch and climate vents. We have our climate controls, single zone climate here, fan speed off to the left, temperature off to the right, and where to send it in the middle. Works pretty well. Down below, we do have a cubby, and we have a blocked off section that would be a USB port, especially in the United States. It's usually a USB. Higher trim levels, it would be USB, but here in the base, it does not. And then we have the traction control off and the power mode. The power mode is for the CVT, and it does actually help out the shifts. Getting on and off the highway, this actually does sharpen it up quite a bit. but it's still not great at the end of the day. The shifter's very standard, globally used here. And we do have cup holders, so we will do a big friggin' bottle test, and sadly, yet pretty predictably, it fails the big friggin' bottle test. We do get a physical parking brake, which is really nice. This isn't something that's found in the current Corolla over in the States, so nice to get that. And we do have a center console with a 12-volt outlet and a USB-C. So you do get at least one USB here in the Corolla Touring. The seats are cloth, they are manual. They hold you in the car, and that's all they promise to do. They work well enough. Over my time with the car, I haven't felt my back hurt. I haven't felt anything really bad about these seats. They just are very, very basic. And of course, this is a rental car. This is going to be a very basic vehicle. However, speaking of seats, we do have back seats. So let's go do a back seat review. All right, getting in the back of the Corolla Touring. And fun fact, I'm actually now at Suzuka Circuit, where they have the F1 race. Anyway, coming into the back here, it is a little bit of a squeeze. And when I say a little bit of a squeeze, it is a lot of bit of a squeeze. Now, the passenger could be nice and move up. This is, I would say, well, it's on par with my driving position, so it's not super far back. If I spread my legs, I can fit back here. We do get a center console with 2 cup holders found in there, but you don't really get any of the size benefits in the back seat. I guess one benefit would be headroom. You know, my head isn't hitting the ceiling, but I don't recall my head hitting the ceiling in the sedan or hatchback, so it's not really any news there. We do have a bunch more cargo space, and we'll talk about that in a second, but overall, the back seat isn't a huge win. It's not a big loss either, but just with the longer roofline, I always wish that Wagons just push the seat a little bit back. 2-3 inches would make a big difference back here. But speaking of the back, let's hop into the back and take a look at the cargo space. All right, so coming into the back of the Corolla Touring, and I will get this out of here in a second. This is my luggage, and that is the amount of space that you get in the back of the Corolla Touring. Absolutely love it. You get tons more space vertically. These are 2 giant roller bags, and I don't need any more space than that. Now, I do have a handle here that will lower the back seats. There you go. Now we have so much more space. With the bags removed, obviously you could tell even more space. Come under here. We do not get a spare tire. However, we get some fix-a-flat. I guess that's nice. Kind of would have been nice to know on my loan. I would have loved to have had a spare tire on a rental car, but that's okay. But the vertical space is a lot better. The cargo space is a lot better, and it's just been so incredibly practical in my week here in Japan with the Corolla Touring. I wish we got this in the States. This is vastly better cargo space than the hatchback, and I love to see that. Now we gotta talk about the looks, and I love this longer roofline Corolla. I think it just looks great. Maybe that's my American brain saying, hey, we don't have these at home, and that adds something special to it for sure. But at the end of the day, I think it looks great. It looks way more proportional. And this is the main way that Corollas are in Japan. I have seen more wagon Corollas than I have seen sedan and hatchbacks, because they still get the traditional hatchback here, but this is by far the most popular. And when you factor in, there's also the Corolla Fielder, which is a sort of a little bit higher off the ground, a little bit different Corolla. There's a lot of these around. So much so that you might notice up at the front of the vehicle, it does not have a Toyota badge. It has a Corolla badge. This is shared between the Corolla Fielder, the Corolla Cross. It is so popular here in Japan that there are Toyota Corolla dealers, not Toyota dealers that sell Corollas. Toyota Corolla dealers. Now, regular Toyota dealers will sell you a Corolla as well, but there are Corolla-specific dealers. Imagine at home going to a Mustang dealership, not just a Ford dealer. That's crazy. One last thing, it does have the steel wheels with hubcaps. There is a trim level of this called the WXB that has basically, in the States, we call it the XSE. It gets those wheels, and it looks super hot. So there are upgrades available for a car like this. With all of that being said, let's get on to my final thoughts. What do I think driving this Corolla Wagon for the last week? Well, I really started to like this car. However, it didn't really personify for me. I recently reviewed the 2026 Corolla Hybrid back in the United States. And I said in that video that that car was pretty boring. And honestly, now driving this in Japan, it's also very boring. However, it's a very good thing, because this car was so boring, because this car was rather uninteresting, besides the fact that it is a wagon, we don't get it, blah, 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 it allowed me to experience the beautiful country of Japan without worry or hesitation. It's not electric, so I didn't have to figure out how to plug it in or how to read the chargers because I don't read Japanese. I can't. I wish I did. It got great fuel economy, so I wasn't at the pump every 40 minutes. I've actually only been to the pump twice. People aren't staring at me. The visibility is great, so navigating the narrow streets of Edogawa City in Tokyo was fantastic. That's where my hotel was. It was easy. You know, this was such a fantastic vehicle for me to experience the country for the first time in. It was such a helping hand. And anytime I needed it, it was there for me. And it wasn't too big. That's the other thing. This is like edging on getting too large for the streets of Tokyo. And I'm glad that it wasn't any bigger. It was compact enough to still feel comfortable and make me feel comfortable on the streets of Tokyo, but still fit all my luggage as you saw. I was able to drive other people around in here. It was a very, very useful vehicle. And so, again, being boring, being nonchalant, being average was actually such a big positive side for this vehicle. It helped me experience everything outside of it. This car was the negative. It wasn't stealing the spotlight over the last week. It was letting the 7-Eleven sandwiches steal the spotlight and Mount Fuji steal the spotlight and Osaka and Tokyo and Chiba. Those things took my attention because the Corolla wasn't begging for it, and that has been fantastic. At the end of the day, this car helped me see a country that I had been dreaming about since I knew what it was. And for that, I am eternally grateful for my little Corolla touring. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Huge thank you to Jad for setting up this trip. Huge thank you to Luke for being my translator in Tokyo. And quite honestly, thank you to my parents for always believing in me. Thank you to my wonderful girlfriend Bella, fiance soon, I promise, for giving me the courage and saying yes, leave for 10 days. Go live your dreams. She's the absolute best. Quite honestly, thank you to all the nurses, the surgeon, the doctors that helped put me back together. The day of recording this is 2 months since I had my intestine surgery in December. 2 months ago, I couldn't get out of bed. I had to walk around the nurse's station with a walker. And now I'm in Japan. Thank you to everyone who made it possible. I hope you guys have enjoyed all of the content that I've brought you guys, but this is the last one, and we're ending on an important one. Thank you very much. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Don't forget to rate the video, comment on the video, and subscribe if you really liked it. Take care, guys.